The Great Remobilization is not only a book, it's a project that took a part of our life dedicated directly to the question, what is the new infrastructure of our post-pandemic world? Now, it might sound like a really tough question, but we were not afraid to answer it. Together with my co-authors, Olaf Groth and Terence C., we venture a journey in understanding more and more the opportunity that we had in what kind of world are we going to live in moving forward. Now, what are some of the findings that we actually discover? It's important for me to share some with you because at the end of this conversation, I'd like to engage you with one question. We will have more dependency on technology. Technologies that will revolutionize the way we work, we live, identity, and also governments. Technology that will make it easier for us to have less dependency on physical work and more dependency on the integration between tech and humans. In fact, more and more, the question will not be whether generative AI will replace humans, more about how can humans integrate generative AI to go faster. We call it a calculator moment. In our book, we talk more and more about important things that are going to be critical, like the rise of new normals. Will we ever have stability and symmetry like we used to have right after World War II when we grew our economies? Well, the answer is we believe that we'll have the rise of new normals and never normals at the same time. More technically, it really means that while we might get used to something, we might equally denormalize for a period of our life, normalize again, denormalize, normalize again, and therefore the fluctuation between what we consider normal and less normal will continue to have shorter lapses of time. Now, this is not bad, we can call it volatility, but there's actually a different way for us to thinking about performance, opportunity for integrated system to actually work together because of the fact that we're now intertwined. See, what we are really becoming is a convergent reality that is at the same time converging and diverging. We are becoming more global and interdependent, but equally more local and tribal. None of this is bad per se. I think fundamentally it's a new way of redefining how life in the next few years will really be. When we actually go a little bit deeper, of course, the conversation on the future of work is becoming so critical these days. So we have tried to give a stab to this conversation, mainly asking the question, how will this symbiosis really work? We used to write back in the day something called the symbiote jobs. How do we integrate technology in the life of people? And we discovered, which is actually quite interesting, that in the next few years, some of the jobs that we'll have in the future currently do not exist. A quite interesting study suggests that by 2035, 60% of new jobs currently does not exist, and we are changing skill set at a pace of about 30 to 35% every 5 years. This is impressive. It actually means that every 5 years we kind of set in the blocks for the new reality to arise. And it's like saying, if for so many decades jobs were kind of stable, ahead of us is a period of reshuffling, creation, and of course, new value propositions. Recently, the World Economic Forum equally mentioned that we might be creating close to 70 million jobs in the next 4 years, but also lose over 85 million. Is this something to be worried about? Well, not necessarily. What we talk about in our book is the fact that if we are engaging in this new infrastructure, almost like the architecture of the world, we're fundamentally going to create jobs through the multipliers. So when we see numbers like this, we don't get worried too much. I think it's just a single data point that needs to be interpreted further. Is understanding how will we be able to rapidly rethink our labor markets differently. Technology is here to stay, and it is inevitable. Now, what will happen to governments? Because some of us are worried or concerned or preoccupied with the conversation about government. Well, government will have to start shifting into what we call anticipatory governance, the ability for us to use anticipatory systems to really design future options. Now, foresight was historically part of either the military or energy companies. We anticipate that foresight and scenarios will become critical to the life of governments, because governments, like every entity, will need to learn from the experience of a world that is now changing. How will they do this? Well, governments will have to start institutionalizing sandboxes. What we call regulatory sandboxes is the ability for us to try and maybe make mistakes and learn again. We might want to create innovation landscapes or boot camps where we can try to integrate finance, startup incubators, of course, consulting companies, banks. The idea is to create new value in an ecosystemic manner. It's also about the agility of the frameworks. We can't afford to actually make it crystallize. We have to be able to move forward and capable to creating agility across every single process of design. Now, you might find this is a bit overwhelming. I find it exciting, just the idea that we can really grow the economy into the next value decades. So I'm going to leave after this podcast with one question for all of you. How will you emerge and engage in the construction of the new infrastructure of the world is a question that will make you architects of the future. I always say this to most of my audiences in my classes, you always have fundamentally two options. You can surrender and experience the future as it unfolds, or you can engage and construct the future. This book is about the call for action, what we call design activism, to construct that future. Thank you.